Hey guys, and welcome back to Castle Crush. And today we are going to be playing with the Necromancer again. It is time for another Necromancer video, and we will be playing with a rushing deck. Yes, you can use the Necromancer with a rushing deck, and I think it's going to be pretty fun. So let's get into this here as I open up some chests. Nothing too amazing in these chests, but still always nice to open them just in case. So, the deck we will be using here today, we have the Necromancer, of course. We have some typical rushing cards like the Phoenix, Hollow Knight, Ice Elemental. Actually, not Ice Elemental normally, but Storm Elemental, Rage, Standard Bearer. And then some other cards to make things interesting, like the Demon and the Angel and the Ice Elemental, just to kind of mix things up a little bit and make this more difficult to stop. And then I also threw in a Skeleton Swarm here because it has very good chemistry with the Necromancer. So I thought, that could be a good because, having each skeleton sort of one by one takes up an opponent's melee hit, so that can be a useful thing. So let's see how this plays out here in some actual matches. So, match here, we have a Jester going. Actually, this may have been a previous deck where I had the Jester in here. I know. This was actually a different deck. But this one was still pretty fun here. This is a pretty random deck I had actually put together here, but I tried to use Giant Growth as well, and pretty fun, but unfortunately my opponent had Black Witch, so I just decided to focus on the Dark Angel. Now I know I've been gone for a while from this channel, but I decided to come back and do a little bit of Castle Crush to start with here because people seem to be watching Castle Crush recently, so I decided it was probably good to post some more of it. Despite the lack of updates, it's really disappointing there have been so few updates for Castle Crush, but, it's the way mobile games go. Not too much I can do, I guess. So, that's just kind of how it is. But I'm going to start off here again with some Castle Crush, and we'll see if I can get into some other games. But first I have to get back in the rhythm of things. So, let's find another match here and try to get some rushing going with the Necromancer. It was actually surprisingly easy to do this. I thought it was going to be a hard thing to set up because normally a 7-mana card in a rushing deck is kind of difficult. But actually it wasn't that crazy because what happens is, having some gusts of wind in there gives you a chance to kind of reset and, swap between the lanes, even if you have a stack that takes a while to develop. So this is often the way I like to set things up if possible, was to try and go for Hollow Knight and Angel together. And then that's a very easy stack to build off of. I'm not sure how I lost that Phoenix right there, but somehow I did. The Ice Elemental was still a good catch though. And at that point I decided to swap lanes because that looked like it was going to be a hard lane to push through. And they attempt to block me again with the Golem. And at this point, I've got the Necromancer out. They try to set up their own Necromancer stack, but I decide to try and Rage and take out that before they could get it going. And at that point, I had the advantage here, especially having, Blizzard, Gust of Wind at my disposal. Easily made the tiebreaker in this match. And then one more lane swap to just make sure. So this is a pretty good rushing strategy, actually. This has to be one of my favorite new ones, I think. Although it does, it does rely a little bit on the Necromancer, but it actually still works even if you don't get the Necromancer. Obviously, you can still rush and win. And I like the fact that there's some cards thrown in here that are a little bit, a little bit different than what you would expect, like the Demon and the Rages. Just having I think I have 2 rages in there. That really makes things interesting because you can rage with like 2 lanes at the same time, which is pretty hard to stop. So right here again, easily finishing that opponent off. You know, Mud Elemental versus a rushing deck with Gust of Wind. Like, they got no chance against that because I can just keep delaying their Mud Elemental, and then with the Skeletons and the Blizzard, you know, just really maximum delaying power to make sure I can win that match. And let's see what the next one has in here. So again, a pretty nothing I can really play right off the start here, but again, the Gusts of Wind and the Blizzard, I found this to be very helpful. I kind of looked at this and took some of that idea from like some leaderboard decks that were trying to do this, and then I kind of added in my own stuff as well, because there were some decks that do use this on the current top players leaderboard, top trophies leaderboard, and they do use this strategy, but it's a little bit different. Mostly the cards I added in here were ones like the extra rages and just a few various things. But as you can see here, this person, very interesting, they came out with an Unchained Demon deck. It looked like they were going to overwhelm my Hollow Knight, but I was able to sort of reset the field here with the Gust of Wind, and then swap lanes and get a really nice stack going, and then freeze both the Pirate and the Unchained Demon at the same time. Really nice catch there with the Ice Elemental. Then I had to unfreeze in order to swap lanes, but it didn't end up mattering because I was so close to destroying their castle. And I got a league promotion temporarily. League promotion doesn't really mean very much. I haven't been competing very much in the leagues lately, just because it is a grind, and honestly, it doesn't really, like, I don't get any more views on this channel if I'm a league up or a league down. So of course I'd like to be in a higher league, but it takes time to grind that, and it's usually time that could be spent like making a video. So it was fun getting to Champion League a few times, but I don't think I'll actively pursue it unless I just happen to be in that position. And in this match, you can see things were going quite badly here. Quite badly. I really needed a standard bearer. But luckily, the Necromancer finished off that Ice Elemental, and now I get the 2 standard bearers. And I decide to go straight into the Hollow Knight and then try to rage through him. And Hollow Knight is not affected by Necromancer, so that actually worked out really well. The problem now here is that they are doing damage to me, and especially in the bottom lane. And I should have addressed that a little sooner. I could have used Gust of Wind a lot sooner. And now I finally start to address some of the damage that's being thrown at me here. And then I swap lanes there, which I'm not sure was necessarily the best move, because I could have dealt with the middle lane. And then why I did this, I don't know, because I could have thrown back the middle lane, except, yeah, see, I made a mistake here in this match. I should have kept going in the top lane or swapped to bottom and then blown back the middle lane with Gust of Wind. That's what I should have done. But, you know, when you're playing with the rushing decks, mistakes are made, and that's just what happens. Nobody's perfect with a rushing deck, so just kind of how it goes. Good looking start for them, but I really don't mind a lot of the cards that my opponent starts with. I mean, whatever they start with, it mostly doesn't matter. My Angel survives there barely, but really it doesn't matter if my opponent plays a Black Knight. You know, if they Dragon can be a problem, but for most cards it doesn't really matter what they play with this deck. You kind of just, actually Skeletons are a problem, but other than that, mostly doesn't matter what they play. You kind of just roll with it, and you know, I can kind of just shift back and forth with a standard bearer to make it work. And right here, just raging right through. See, I didn't even get the Necromancer in this match yet, and I finally do get him, but I had to focus on the other lane first, and then we get the Necromancer set up. But by this point, I've already got a big advantage here. And then dodging the poison for the win. So I really liked just the creativity of this deck sometimes, but it is basically a rushing deck. To be honest, it's just that the Necromancer really adds, you know, like sort of an extra variable that your opponent has to deal with. And it can be really, really difficult for them to deal with it. Almost kind of like how protection was kind of like an extra thing that like could sort of like take the rushing deck sort of like and just push it over the top. The Necromancer is also a card like that that can just really throw off your opponent because they have to kind of focus on it. And depending on how far back it is in the lane, they can't necessarily just use Meteor either. So definitely something to mix up a rushing deck with. And it's kind of a nice variation from the normal skeleton decks that get Boneyard. Because initially I only thought that like the Necromancer was going to be good with skeleton decks, but it's actually pretty decent with a variety of decks. It just kind of depends on what supporting cards you have and how the strategy kind of fits together right here. Getting rid of that Mud Elemental, swapping lanes around the Mud Elemental, and then I pull off the standard bear there and decide to wait, and the waiting pays off because I dodge the dragon. And then you can see the Necromancer bring back to life the standard bearer, which is really valuable because it means the rushing attack kind of keeps going. But then it gets pulled right into... See, that's where the dragons are kind of nasty. They got pulled right into that dragon. Otherwise, I think it would have gone behind the dragon. So that was really unfortunate, I think. And then at this point, unfortunately, this match was basically over for me. I couldn't really pull it back too much. I mean, I could, but I couldn't stop the dragon in the bottom lane. It's actually funny because I was able to kind of really fix it a little bit, but I couldn't really catch up with that dragon there. So unfortunately, I do lose that match, but it was well played. I mean, they got that dragon out right at the exact moment to mess up my push, and worked out for them. So this match here, I mean, they got the Black Witch off immediately, and then arrows, really nice opening moves by this opponent. And it looked like I was going to be in some big trouble here. But the golems aren't that crazy, and, you know, I do have Gust of Wind, so the catapult isn't a huge threat. So I get the Necromancer down. And then I'm trying to figure out what to do because I want to get rid of that catapult. And unfortunately, because everything was all sort of piled up there, it ended up being a perfect opportunity for them to use Meteor, and didn't work out very well. But I do clear their catapult, and this is bringing up a new opportunity here for me. But unfortunately, because my opponent has Gust of Wind, that was really causing some problems. But then, I don't know what they did with that Black Witch there. And I'm kind of surviving here. It's like if I could just break through, but unfortunately they have that Phoenix. And then Gust of Wind, Gust of Wind. It looked like I might have won that match, except they got the Gust of Wind there to match my Gust of Wind. I have another Gust of Wind, but I'm trying to decide what to do because I'm going to need it for that catapult. So I used it on the catapult. And then all of a sudden here, I'm managing to pull this back together, and it's actually looking pretty solid. But I'm waiting with the standard bearer because I know I want that multi-lane coverage. But then, yeah, unfortunately they had the cards, even though I cleared everything they had. They had the cards to get me. So unfortunately, that was just the end of that. So that is going to do it for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed some Necromancer rushing here. So leave a like if you enjoyed. Let me know what you thought about this video in the comments and what other types of videos I should create. I'm definitely open to new ideas here as I'm trying to get some videos back out here again to start the 2020 grind here. So maybe subscribe if you're new to the channel for more types of mobile games and mobile game videos. And thanks for watching, guys, and stay tuned for more videos.